Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so the new update is live and so is the buff for Mr. Fantastic, Black Panther, Vulture and Odin. What I did before the update hit is I did some test fights with each of the champions that are gonna get buffed in Realm of Legends without the synergy team and with synergy team. And now I'm gonna be redoing all of the same fights after the buff. So here is gonna be Mr. Fantastic free buff. So first, the major difference that we're gonna notice afterwards is that in the first fight you are forced to enter with only 2 pre-fight abilities, but after the buff you will be able to access all of your pre-fight abilities immediately. And then we're gonna do some damage testing. Right, I do not want to hold you guys longer than necessary, so I'm gonna be speeding up through some of these fights basically till I get my setup. In the first fight I'm going only for 1 careful study passive here, and once that is established, basically I want to get 3 sets of pre-fight debuffs active, and then we can try and start to go for like damage. But we can see that at this point I have set up my careful study passive, I have 3 debuffs, I have the shock, and he's still very much healthy. So that was one of the Achilles heels for Mr. Fantastic, that before the update he wasn't really hitting all that hard. Here we can see heavy attack for 2000. Yes, I don't have Suicide's boosts and he has class disadvantage, but it's still not overly great amount of damage. But now I'm gonna be speeding through, and this is with his big fury here with 9 debuffs on opponent. We are hitting definitely significantly harder, but the damage output is not quite there, which for many people was a deal breaker with Mr. Fantastic. Now I did get like a nice 15k crit, but overall it's hard to argue against the idea that he did not really have the highest damage output, and we can see that quite evident here. Again, let's speed up a bit further. We can see that the fight is taking a while for sure, several level 3s, definitely longer than you would be willing to spend fighting Winter Soldier with a rank 5 star. And here's the last bit. We're gonna finish this fight relatively shortly, but yeah, still, it's gonna take a while. So the fight finished at 159 hits. That's our baseline pre-buff, without synergies, without anything else. 159 hits. Now I did feel it important to do another fight with all 3 pre-fight buffs active, because that does actually quite significantly increases Mr. Fantastic's damage output. In addition, in this fight we don't have class disadvantage. Right. So it's going much better here. At this point, I am going to be trying to get the second careful study passive active as well, which is not recommended for vast majority of the fights, but can improve the power level of Mr. Fantastic quite significantly. Now when we have 3 sets of every pre-fight debuff, we have 2 careful study passives. Please keep an attention to my power bar. I have significantly increased power rate, and I am doing a lot more damage, because in total I have like 15 debuffs on the opponent at this point. And yeah, we are doing much better than we did before, but unfortunately the damage output by himself still leaves quite a lot to be desired, and which is one of the main reasons why I believe a lot of people often overlooked Mr. Fantastic despite his crazy amount of utility. Right, so the baseline for this fight is about over, so let's just check out the second fight, and the second fight was 144 hits, so 159 to 144. Let's go in with synergy teams. Now, I will be doing exactly the same fights. This time I'm going to be using 2 Mr. Fantastics, and that by itself gives Mr. Fantastic like 30% attack increase. And on top of that, I have full Fantastic 4 team, which obviously gives additional abilities, basically. And this fight is already going to go quite a lot quicker. I don't want to have you guys sit through it all, but you can see that during this fight, you are doing passive damage for every debuff that you have active on your opponent. Level 2s give you some small fury buff for not too long duration, but you know, it's still helpful. And whenever you parry, you inflict weakness on opponent, so that gives you additional debuff, which is again still helpful. And if the first baseline without synergies was 159 hits, then the second baseline with synergies is about to be over here. We can see it in a second. Is already much better, but still leaves quite a lot to be desired, especially considering that you do have to drop level 3s and stuff like that. So 115 hits. Right, let's go on to the next fight here against Captain Marvel. In this fight, we do not have class disadvantage. We have all 3 pre-fights active. And this fight is gonna take us... 1 second, it's about to be over here. With a nifty little level 1. And this fight does 81 hits. So 81 is already very respectable amount. Now we do need to scroll past quite a lot of test footage for the other champions, but now we're going to be taking a look at Mr. Fantastic after buff. So we can see by the loading screen that I have just updated the game. We're going to be entering, and the results are actually quite significantly different. Remember that it used to be 159 hits for Mr. Fantastic by himself, without any synergies before buff. And now, what changed? So all the debuff duration has been increased from 12 to 15 seconds. On top of that, every single debuff used to give Mr. Fantastic 5% attack increase. Now it does give him 8% attack increase. And it might not sound like a huge deal, but considering the amount of debuffs that you're applying, it is quite a big deal. And obviously this time we are able to start the very first fight with all 3 pre-fights active, so we get more attack increase there. And perhaps most importantly, the level 3 Fury is also about 50% more potent per debuff. So it should be quite a lot of damage increase. So again, we're not going to sit through the entire fight, sitting through level 3s and stuff like that, but the end result is actually quite drastically different at this point, because Mr. Fantastic has kind of overcome a lot of his personal weaknesses. And keep in mind that this fight is with class disadvantage. And I'm going to go for like a level 1, which is not going to quite finish it off, but we're going to go for another heavy attack. Why not? He's at like 1%, so I'm just going to try and drop in one more heavy attack. Fight is over. And yeah, 117 hits. So it went from 159 to 117 for the very first fight, which again is a quite significant increase. Next up, we're going to go against Captain Marvel Classic. Why not? And this fight is going to go even better, because here we are obviously not even in class disadvantage. And in this fight, again, I'm going to be trying my best to get that second Careful Study passive, thus by first of all trying to force out the level 2s in this fight and then bet out the level 1s. So the setup again takes a bit of time, but you can see some very decent numbers there already. Okay, so I just need to get another level 2 out of her, and from this point we can start actually enjoying the fight. Here, she has 3 level 1s. So I'm going to go for my level 3 here, and now we're going to see some very beautiful numbers. So the Fury that Mr. Fantastic gets is basically about 30% from his base attack for each debuff on the opponent. Now with this setup, you have about 16 debuffs on the opponent. Now he's critting for like 15k mediums, 10k lights, and that is quite savage. 32k heavy attack. Man, I love this tune-up. This tune-up is very good. I genuinely like it a lot, and I have a feeling that I'm going to be using Mr. Fantastic a lot more. 35k crit. Jeez Louise. And yeah, this fight is already over. So this is Mr. Fantastic without any synergies, getting this fight done in like 100 hits. And that's not bad at all for a rank 5 5-star. That's not meant to be a high damage dealing option against the Realm Legends opponent, without suicides, without any boost, without anything active. And now we have the most jacked Mr. Fantastic, right? So we have the team recreated once again. And for this one, I'm just going to be showing the Winter Soldier fight, because on Captain Marvel fight, I actually started just goofing around a bit too much. But the Winter Soldier fight is already going to be quite impressive. So again, I'm not going to try and go for second Careful Study passive. One is good enough. One already makes this lad very powerful. Now that I nearly messed up because of the pop-up that recording has been saved. But let's go. Let's see what happens. So I'm gonna go for the second level 2 here. We have 2 sets of each debuff active. Remember, the passive damage over time abilities get more potent based on Mr. Fantastic's attack as well as for each debuff. So we can see that at this point we're already dealing like 400 something per tick, and that is with class disadvantage once again. Gonna go for the next one. So here is nice 12k crit plus decent shock damage. The damage over time is actually very potent at this point. And yeah, now I just want to go for a level 3, because why not see how big that Fury is actually going to be. So again, just need to make sure that I keep refreshing the debuffs. One thing that they did not change, I hoped they would, but they didn't, is that heavy attack reach. So you still need to be very careful whether you can actually connect with your heavy or not. But let's go. So this is the good point. So we have set up pretty much perfectly. Level 3 already deals how much damage here? That's 39k. And I should have attacked. I made a mistake here. I forgot that I actually parried just before that. But again, 13k passive. We can see the damage over time is like 17k here. That's a very, very good, sorry, 1700. It's a very good amount of damage that consistently sticking from opponent. And I should have went for level 2 earlier, because I'm not gonna have that Fury last long enough. If I had been a bit quicker, you can easily make to your level 2 with that passive Fury active. So I did mess it up. The fight should be over at about 70 hit mark, to be honest. And Mr. Fantastic is actually a bit of a damage beast at this point. So I'm gonna pause it here with 75 hits. Let's leave it at 75, yeah. And it definitely could have been like 10 hits less, or at the very least 8 hits less. So yes, I'm actually quite excited to be doing some more testing with Mr. Fantastic. Let me know what you guys think about his tune-up. I'm personally very happy so far. Anyways, that is it. I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about